Hello and welcome to the RotD deep dive spoiler-filled discussion on Extremity. Now, if you're watching this, you should have watched the movie. This is full of spoilers, but I mean, ultimately you may wind up in a place where you don't care and you haven't seen the movie yet, but spoil away. So here we go. So I think the big problem with me on this one was this set up such a strong foundation of the owner, runner, the head, let's just say the head of Perdition was a very strong character when he was masked and very much in control of everything. And even when he was unmasked towards the beginning there, you know, it's like, how many times do I have to tell you I have a plan? I don't tell everybody my plan, but I have a plan. But especially while he was masked, everything about his movement, his speech was purposeful, was confident. And I think the haunted house reflected that. As the movie went on, I think from the point that he was unmasked, everything started to take a downward turn. You saw fewer and fewer actors involved with the production of Extremity as the thing went on. You just saw behind the scenes, or you know, the veil of pageantry and scares just started to kind of fall apart, and this main character of the head of Perdition that they set up so well just turned into a guy that is eating SpaghettiOs at night because he doesn't have two nickels to rub together, and doesn't really actually know what he's doing. And apparently his wild trump card for the evening is that he had her father and to bring him out of the shadows. Why? I would think for a cheap ploy, something impactful for the audience. So, but at the same time, she lied on her application and on her mental health reports and so forth. She, as far as what scares her, she never actually mentioned her daddy. It took a lot of physical manipulation, torture, and so forth for even to mention the word daddy. So for him to know ahead of time that is an issue, he would have had to know her backstory, and in knowing the backstory, he would have had to know she was lying. So just from a standpoint of, I chose this person very carefully, and I set all this up, but I'm also going to trust that she's stable. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Also bringing in what appeared to be a fairly unrepentant child abuser molester seemed like a dicey move. So again, very strong promise of the beginning and the middle portions. The haunted house Perdition was very much in control the entire time. They set everything up. They knew what they were doing. All of the physical torture and manipulation that the character was going through was purposeful. Everything that she was seeing was purposeful, maybe staged, but again, purposeful. That actually led more towards the purposeful actions. The fact that the dog was all right. This is what they intended to do. The fact that, even towards the end, some of the staging done by the production as far as the gun and so forth, that was to bring her to the edge. Fine. But I think in order to figure out how this movie could have kept the promise that it made to its audience, I think I'm going to go ahead and get into a segment of here's how I would have done it. The best thing that they could have done was left the head of Perdition masked. Kept him going on a purposeful level. I don't think that anything about this should have left his control. Maybe give the appearance of that. Maybe give some fake outs, like when she headbutted Jay LaRose there. Maybe still have him, did you see that? And, totally out of surprise. Maybe kept that element in there, like she's surprising him, because I think that would have also lent its, for the audience. I would have that had a good moment of who's running the asylum kind of moment there. But ultimately, I think how it should have landed is he is always in control. The confidence, the speech, everything that about this is something that should have been purposeful and calculated. And I don't necessarily have a problem with the whole bringing the father out thing, but I think that they should have played this as he did choose her on purpose. He did know that she lied. He did know her backstory. He does have her father waiting in the wings, but this is all purposeful. He knows what she is trying to get out of this. He knows that she is trying for a catch-all, one-stop shopping mental health breakthrough, if not health, but breakthrough, get past the fears. And I think that this should have all been a calculated effort of getting her to the point where she killed her father, and everything leading up to that was to bring her to the mental and physical brink, so that when her father came out, that's ultimately the action that she would land on. As far as what happens to the head of perdition, I honestly think that's a toss-up. I mean, I think that it makes just as much sense that if she killed she killed her father, then the lights go out and he is gone and nowhere to be seen. I think that makes just as much sense as her taking her revenge out on him and almost self-sacrificing in that case for the head of perdition. If he's still in control, but he lets her kill him, justice served kind of thing, that would make just as much sense. I think that there were two main elements that really lent itself to having an ending such as this. The first being the fact that the character, the head of perdition, was so strong that I think that her giving up control, her signing the forms and giving her mind and body over to perdition should have been a more, that was an act of trust, and I think that trust should have been rewarded more. That there should have been more control on his part. The second, I think more notable as far as a film goes and a plot structure and an audience participation kind of thing, is the underground horror movie that she was watching with her girlfriend. And her girlfriend was questioning, is this real? Are you absolutely sure this is fake? And then her having the dream sequence or whatever that, where she's witnessing the filmmakers of that underground horror, engaging in actual brutality in front of her. It took the concept, it took the question of this underground horror thing, is it real or not? And now we have a situation where she's in a position of being filmed in an underground fashion. Even with the Japanese film crew there, which was an interesting touch. I still don't know exactly how I feel about it. You know what? I know how I feel about that. Exactly how I feel about the rest of the movie. Strong start, fizzled at the end. But I think that would have been a constant thing in there. Is it would have continued on that theme into perdition, and even towards the end of how much is real, how much isn't, to what end are things happening there. It raised a good topical plot point that it could have continued on with instead of just fizzling out like it did. So that's ultimately how I feel about this one. At this point, I would like to hand the reins over to you. If you feel differently, if you agree with me, if you want to just generally discuss this, please leave comments below. I will be reading them and engaging with them. If you like these videos, I encourage you to click subscribe. Other than that, I really genuinely appreciate you making me a part of your day, and I hope to see you tomorrow. Thank you.